from the Good Girl Confessional podcast. And the Good Girl Confessional podcast is brought to us by WB40, or Women Beyond 40 magazine. Today in the confessional, I'm really excited to be talking to an extraordinary guest. She is a multi-award-winning artist. She's a speaker, and she's a resilience coach. In 2011, Justine Martin's world was turned upside down when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Having MS might have stopped her in her tracks, but beyond that, she has also battled 3 different kinds of cancer. Justine, who is a mother and a grandmother, knew that she needed to figure out a new way to live. So she started to learn art and found out that it was actually her passion. She has created an extraordinary business surrounded by art, and her artwork is sublime. Please welcome to the Good Girl Confessional, Justine Martin. Hello, Justine, and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional. How are you today?
Very good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining me, because I know you're an extremely busy woman at the moment.
Yes, life is a little bit chaotic, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
First of all, congratulations on all of the nominations for awards that you've had this year. I think there's 16 or 17 awards. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And they keep coming in, which is surprising to me, but it's absolutely fantastic. So
that's so great. And we were having a little chat just before off air about, how huge that is for you and your business, and so it's wonderful. So you've been nominated and you've become a finalist across many awards for Oz Mumpreneur, and also many awards, I believe, for Raw Success, and a few awards in a Women in Business category as well.
That's correct. Yes, it's mind blowing actually. To be nominated was fantastic, but to reach the finals is beyond what I could ever have dreamed for over the course of what's happened in the last 10 years. So.
Well, it's wonderful and very, very well deserved. So let's talk about that journey and how you actually are where you are right now, which is pretty incredible. So your life kind of changed in 2011, and at that stage you were working in the corporate world. So tell us all about it.
So I was a program director for Jenny Craig, and that was what I thought was my dream job. I'd spent 10 years working up to there, and I was recently engaged, and I thought I was on top of the world. Well, I was on top of the world at that particular time, and then my vision started going funny, and I then went through a whole heap of tests, and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in March 2011. And some of my symptoms are I can't count properly anymore. Multitasking was an issue back then, and I couldn't even tell the time. It was that bad unless it was a digital. If I looked at a normal clock, no, forget it. And so I had to stop work. My fatigue levels were really, really bad, and the disease was quite aggressive to start with. And so I went from this good paid job to nothing overnight. And my neurologist turned around and said, I think you better find a hobby. You're going to have a lot of time on your hands. I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to learn how to paint, but when you have something in the back of your mind, I'll do that when I retire, I'll do that on holidays. Well, all of a sudden here I had all this time, and it's like, well, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to contribute back to society? If I can't contribute financially and pay taxes, what am I going to do? And I had really bad anxiety. I'd sit at home with 4 walls around me, and I'm a very social person, and so I was really struggling. And so I went off to an art studio, which one of my friends actually owned. She was an acquaintance, and she owned it. And I couldn't even walk in through the door to start with. And it took me a good 3-4 months. I'd drive there, I'd sit out the front, go, no, can't do it. And I'd drive home and be angry with myself all the way home because I couldn't walk in the door. Anyway, I finally walked in the door, and I took to painting like a duck to water. And then we moved over here to Victoria from WA to be closer to my family for support. And then I entered my first exhibition which was the Drysdale Easter Rotary exhibition, and I sold my first painting for $300, and I'm like, oh, there's some money to be made in this. So that moment on, and I blame that moment, it went from a hobby to I can still make some money. I can build my empire, and that was the pivotal point from it. So it's now no longer a hobby at all. I can tell you, it's massive.
It's fantastic. I love this story so much. And so from there, you open your own studio.
I did. I had a studio at home. At that stage, it was just it went from the kitchen table to then I moved into a house that had a dining room, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be my studio. And then it was when I was there that I was given the opportunity of taking over a gallery, which is part of a very large cafe in Drysdale called Cafe Zoo in High Street. And I can hang about 40 pictures of my work in there. And I've always got work in there, and I get visiting artists in and out, and particularly new artists that have never exhibited before with that. And then I bought my own home and converted a 4-car garage, cut it in half because I've got one car. Why do you need a 4-car garage? And turned it into my art wellness studio. But then I got diagnosed with 3 primary cancers, and so that all went on the back burner. And unfortunately, I then spent the next couple of years fighting for my life until I was well enough to go, okay, I'm ready to do this, and then opened up Just Art Wellness classes 2 years ago, and that's been flourishing ever since. So that's open. It's open to anyone, but particularly disabled people, to help them create beautiful pieces of art, and to bring a bit of colour into their life as well.
That's fantastic. It's so great. It's so great. And your work is really beautiful as well. So we will, of course, put up all the links to Just Arts as well. And it's fantastic. Everyone should jump on and have a look. It's great. But I do love the idea that you are teaching art. You have these art classes, and that you're encouraging other disabled people to find out things about themselves through art, and to build some joy in their life through art.
Well, life doesn't stop just because you become disabled. It does take on a different meaning. And art, to me, the therapy side of it is my form of meditation. So if I get in there and I create something beautiful, it doesn't even have to be beautiful to anyone else except for me. Everyone else is a bonus if they like it or not. But to see people stand and look at my art and they smile, that's a compliment in itself. And then when people actually hand over their hard-earned money to hang my artwork on their walls, that is the biggest form of compliment anyone could actually pay. So, I donate a lot of work to charities of my way, giving back, and gift vouchers and things like that. So, I'm all about, paying forward and also, paying back to those that have helped me along the way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm a big believer in that as well. So I think it's just really important. And, for me, I guess with the magazine and the podcast, WB40 Mag, that we highlight businesses for micro and small businesses owned by women. In the pages of our mag, we have a section called She Endeavours, and that's purely I developed that for that at no cost. So that's what we do. We highlight businesses because we all know that women are pretty incredible, and women who run businesses even more so.
We are.
So, it's important. And to encourage people to buy from women, is really important as well. So things turned around, obviously in your life in 2011 with the MS diagnosis, and I can't even begin to imagine how that was. But we were having a little chat prior about what your life had been like before that, and where you started, I guess, in the corporate world. So tell us all about, because you've had a really interesting career. You've done lots of different things.
I have. I've done lots of different things at once. I think at one stage I had 4 casual jobs going at once, and it was a simple case of, okay, what am I going to wear today? And I just swapped the badges. I was going in and out to each one, because you do what you do in order to survive. And I was in a small country town with 6,000 people in Glen Innes, northern New South Wales, and I was a single mum and I needed to supplement my income. And so it's like, okay, well, I can do this, and while I'm driving there to that one, I can do this one. And so, I've been a music teacher, I've been a merchandiser, I've been in retail, I've owned my own clothing store. I've done all the multi-level marketing businesses you could possibly think of. If you throw one at me, I'll probably have done that at some period of time. I've run for Parliament twice. I was the manager of a very large bed store in WA. I was assistant manager of a wholesale butchers in WA. Lots of different things, but still having the same skill set behind them all. And like I said, a Weight Watchers leader, and then for 10 years, and then a program director for Jenny Craig. So lots of different things.
Wow, it's kind of incredible. And no doubt that you've brought all of that experience with you into this new business, which is thriving and is being, and deservedly so, recognised, which is great.
Yes. And I suppose the thing, like with a lot of artists, is that they don't have that marketing background to themselves, whereas I came in with a marketing background and then became an artist. So that has made it a lot easier to get my, well, I call it brand now, because that's what it is. It's, Justine Martin Corporation. And I've got all these businesses that now sit underneath them. So Just Art is just one of the businesses that I now actually run, which is exciting. So, things are expanding quite fast as well. So it's like, hang on for the ride. My kids can't even keep up with what I'm doing. And, I show them, okay, this is what mummy's doing. And they're like, oh, yeah, rightio, mum. But my son's he's a businessman in his own right, so I'm pretty proud of, what he's achieving as well. And my daughter, she's got a gorgeous family of, 4 kids at home with her, so she helps out me in my business where she can as well. So it's becoming like the family corporation. So,
which is so beautiful, right? It's really lovely. And obviously, you being such a strong kind of and vibrant businesswoman has really helped your kids along the way too, because, you can't be what you can't see. And every day you're an example of that for them.
That's right. I wanted to be the best role model that I could, be. And they're watching. Even if they're not saying anything, they're watching your actions, they're watching what you're doing. And my son will ring for advice, but not ring for advice, if that makes sense. So, which is great. And, his little backyard business he's booming. He's just become the Australian champion for drone racing in the X-Class division, and he runs a drone store, and he designs and builds drones now that go all around the world. So, very, very, proud of what he's achieved. And, and I'm a grandma now, so, I've got 6 grandkids, and they mean the world to me, and they're watching. So it's not just my kids watching now, it's my grandchildren that are watching. And, it's important to build something that they can say, well, if, Nan can do that, or if Mum can do that, I can do that.
Absolutely. And you're an incredible role model for them. I think it's fantastic. And congratulations on having so many grandbabies. It's very exciting.
Love them all to bits. They cost me a fortune, but I love them to bits.
I've got 3 grown-up children, no grandchildren yet, but I'm sure that'll be a really exciting chapter when it happens.
Yeah, it will. Look, there's nothing beats the love of a grandchild. Nothing. It's I can't even describe it. And the first time when they call you Nan, it's like, oh.
That's so exciting. Someone wants.
Back at night.
I was about to say that. I've got friends who are grandparents and they've actually said it's a different kind of love because, you know, when with your kids, it's you love them with every part of your being, but you also carry all the responsibility for everything that happens with them. And with a grandchild, you feel all of that love doubled. And then, as you say, you get to hand them back.
Well, the stress isn't there. Unless you had them overnight and it's like, oh, you got to come and get them. I'm too tired.
Oh, I love that. So I wanted to talk about as well, as you mentioned before, you don't just run an art school, an art studio, and a gallery. You actually are no, I hope I get this right. So you're actually a resilience coach.
Consultant.
There we go, resilience consultant. And I'm really interested in that. And obviously you're an incredibly resilient person yourself. But tell us all about resilience consulting and how that works.
Well, because I have been through so much, everyone kept asking me, what's your secret? How come you can bounce back? So to put this into perspective, in the last 10 years, I got diagnosed with the MS. Then I've had 3 heart surgeries. Then I had the 3 cancers at once, plus another blood disorder. Plus I've had pericarditis and I had another skin disorder. And then got diagnosed with a thing called lipedema, which affects 11% of all women. So that's painful fat syndrome, it's known as. And everyone's like, how can you just bounce back and do things? And I sat down and thought, well, I don't know, I'm just me. But then when I broke it all down, I thought, well, this is something that other people obviously want to know about and I can help them. And that's how it came about. And now from the resilience consulting, which I do one-on-one, face-to-face when allowed, and then via Zoom, which then opens up the platform for, you know, anyone in the world. By the end of the year, I'll have my resilience course up and going, which anyone can hop in at any particular time. I've got books that are coming out on resilience, so children's books as well as self-help books for adults. So there's lots of different components to the resilience side of things. So I take everyone, NDIS clients, as well as anyone that needs help with overcoming some adversity in their life, and I can help them with that direction. So how to transform their own lives.
That's so brilliant. It really is. And I think especially during these times that we're living in at the moment, that so many people are looking to build their own resilience and, you know, to be able to manage the whole pandemic situation and what we're going through.
Yeah. So next week, I'm hoping it's out next week, I've got a $27 pack that people will be able to download and gives them all these tips and hints and, you know, the start of the foundation on how to overcome, you know, what they're going through with isolation and everything, because being in lockdown is not my first rodeo. For anyone that's been through chemo would know that, you know, this is the way that we've had to live for a very long time. And, you know, I've got a lot of experience in that, and then, you know, to share with others on everything. You know, I couldn't think of anything worse at the moment that if you were stuck at home and all you had was the TV just to watch. And so I want to help people explore other ways that they can fill their days positively. And there's some art things in there for them to do, and without having to go and spend a whole lot of money as well in it. So, you know, you can make paint from things in your kitchen. So there's recipes and everything like that in there. So it's all exciting putting that together at the moment.
That's so exciting because and that's really important as well, because a lot of people have been hit with financial kind of adversity during this as well. Certainly a lot of people in the arts sector and hospitality, and a lot of people are kind of doing it tough. But also too, as you mentioned, there's a lot of people out there who are living by themselves. And so to be able to find ways, I guess, of filling your time in a positive way, as you say, rather than just flicking through Netflix all day.
Yeah, that's right. And, some of the tips are, the one thing that we can control at the moment is what we put in our mouths. With outside anything else, we can control what we put in our mouths. So, if, someone's sitting there and they're putting on weight, well, the one thing that you can control is, how much and what you're putting in your mouth. So just simple little things like that. And, movement. I'm unable at the moment to, like everyone else, to go to the gym, and that's actually affecting my mobility. And so it's like, okay, well, what can I do things around the house? What can I lift? What can I utilise in order to get movement? We've had some terrible rainy days in Victoria this year, this winter, this lockdown. So you can't even go out for a walk. It's like, okay, well, what incidental exercises or movements can I do? And there's tips and everything in this pack in regards to all of that. And, then that flows on that, when you're taking care of those two little things in your life, helps lead to, a resilient mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned before, it's an interesting age, the age that we're in. You have been part of the sandwich generation, as I was as well. So you were a single mum taking care of your own mum, who your mum was also disabled, also had MS. And I completely understand that. I was a single parent and helping to take care of my parents. My father had Alzheimer's. My mum had polio from the age of 4 and was disabled, a proud disabled woman herself. But that's a kind of a really interesting thing in terms of resilience as well, because it's a tough gig, right?
Oh, yeah. So my mum was a remarkable woman. She had breast cancer at 27. She got MS at 33, cervical cancer at 40, and she had lung cancer at 49, but died from complications from MS. So I became her carer at a very, very young age. Yeah, I learnt to cook from about the age of 10, because if I didn't, my brother and I didn't eat. And there was some amazing concoctions that I would cook up back then. And we ate it because there was nothing else to eat. But there was also no support, as you would know, Sandy. There was no support networks for people that were in that situation. Whereas, they are getting better. There are still big, holes that need to be fixed, but there's a lot more out there now than what we ever had. And, especially when I was in a small country town, there was nothing. And it was extremely, extremely difficult as a teenager, and then in my early 20s. And I had to make the decision at the age of 22. I was a single mum then with a 6-month-old, on whether I could continue being my mum's carer or put her into a nursing home. And I made the decision of putting her into a home for, the better for my son and for myself and for my mum as well, because I couldn't give her the care that she needed. And we fought constantly because of that role reversal. Yeah. Which is, extremely unfair on both parties. But then, unfortunately, Mum's MS deteriorated to the point that she had internal organ failure from infections and everything from the MS. So my daughter was 7 weeks old when she passed away, and that was another tough gig to go through. And then, the guilt and everything that you feel that, I'd let her down and everything like that. So, I came through it stronger and wiser. And, that's 24 years ago now. And, I look back at, it was a tough gig, but there was some really good fond memories as well that I can take through and, install things that my mum did with me onto my children and my grandchildren. So, and remember her legacy as well. So.
Well, thanks for sharing about your mum, because, first of all, I'm really sorry for your loss, because it's hard, and it's something that we learn to live with, but I don't know that we ever really get over it. I've lost both of my parents now. So, but you're right. I think that we can draw strength from their experience, right? From what they did give us when they could, and we can then pass that on to our children. So
I don't think we need to get over it. I mean, there's this thing in society, you have to get, someone dies or you're going through grief, that there's this end time to it. But yeah, you learn to cope better with it. You become more resilient, with it. But you don't have to get over it. Like, it's like everyone nowadays, if you say that you're sad, oh, you're depressed. No, I'm sad. And it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel sad at the moment that we can't get out and about. That's okay to feel those feelings. That's normal. It's probably not depression. You're just sad. All right. And to sit in that moment. And then it's like, okay, well, things are going to improve. Things will improve. What can make me happy? Oh, well, I'll go and put a funny movie on, or I'll pick up one of my friends who had the phone and call one of my friends who has the most wicked sense of humour and have a chat with her and have a belly laugh with her. And that'll make me happy. And I'm no longer sad. So, you've got to sit in the moment as well.
And I think a lot of people
hurry to get out of it and then go into the next thing.
That's true. I was about to say, I do think a lot of people struggle with this thing about emotion, and that, emotions are okay to feel, whatever they may be, the good ones and the not so fun ones. But it's an interesting thing. It's interesting watching sort of the generation after us and then beneath them even, that,
Social media.
Instagram
models. Because you only see, in the majority of those, you only see all the staged good things. Whereas if you follow me on social media, I'm up there in my pajamas saying, well, this has happened or this has gone wrong. I've sat outside the cancer centre bawling my eyes out on live stream saying this has just gone wrong, or I've got to have this done. And being authentic. What happened to authenticity nowadays? There's so many people that are not authentic.
Yeah, I think that's true as well.
That leads to the pressure. That leads to the pressure of, I've got to be like them, or I've got to be like this in social media, or I've got to live my life this way because that's what, the media is dictating. And that, what happened to authenticity?
Yeah.
If more people were authentic, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. But, human beings are interesting creatures. I've always sort of tried to say to my kids and other people as well that, I look at it like this. Back in my day, you took photos and you went and got that reel of, that reel developed, and so you could see actual photographs physically in your hand, not like today where everything's on your phone. But, out of those, because we didn't have digital cameras, so we were like clicking away, and you'd be at a party and maybe 3 out of 24 photos were great and the others were crap. And so, of course, if I was going to put a photograph in a frame, I'm going to pick the best of that lot. And this is what I try and explain to other people. That is what social media is. Of course, we want to show the best day that we had, or that great holiday, or the things that we're doing that bring us joy. Because in fairness, not many of us want to put the worst possible photograph we can find of ourselves in a frame in our house. So why would we put it up on social media? And I think if people get that perspective and they understand, oh yeah, that's a moment in time because I had a good day. Maybe they didn't have a good day. Maybe they had a great moment out of a really crap day, and that's what they shared, right? I think if we keep it in perspective, you're right. In terms of authenticity, I'm loving that there's kind of a movement, and I'm part of that as you are, and I love it that you can, jump onto social media with no makeup and with your hair not done.
Let's not get too carried away there, Sandy.
Sorry?
Let's not get too carried away. Let's still have some boundaries.
I love it. Look, I got up and actually did my hair and put on makeup today, so...
No, look, I've sat on my studio floor in my pajamas. I still do have a bit of foundation on when I'm doing that. The medical condition, I'm going to say, because of the medical condition. I have a big red nose with rosacea underneath all this. And yeah, just, I'll sit there and paint, and people love to watch me paint, and, we'll communicate, and it becomes authentic. So
yeah, it's great. And I think what you do then is you allow people, the more open you are about that sort of stuff, I think you allow other people to come into your world, right? And when you show your imperfections, other people are more, they're brave enough then to show theirs. And I think that that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I obviously don't have a problem talking in front of me. You're just going to keep it away from me if I've had a couple of drinks. Kids are like, oh, Mum.
I love that though. And, I'm a bit the same. I could talk the leg off a chair. I was one of those kids at school where the teacher would say, I think she could talk underwater. So,
with a mouthful of marbles.
Yes, right.
I actually got a job one day by saying, I can talk with, underwater with a mouthful of marbles. They're like, oh, you're hired. So I was doing merchandising at shows, one of the ones, you want to fill your name in here and that. So, yeah, got me a job once.
I love that. Well, your life has taken so many twists and turns, but what it has given you, as you said, is an extraordinary level of resilience and courage to try new things. But do you think that it's also made you hugely adaptable?
Oh, yes. And that's the one thing that I say. In order to become resilient, you actually have to be adaptable. So whatever is given at you, you look at it and, we're always changing. We're always, as a person, changing. Our personality changes slightly as the older that we get. I'm definitely not the same person I was in my 20s. You wouldn't be either, Sandy, or even, 30s. Not sure how old you are.
I'm 52, so...
Oh, there we go. I'm 50, so we're in the 50s club. Now where was I going with this? See?
No, we were just talking about our ability to adapt, right, and how we change over time.
Yeah, and, I realised, like, when I got the MS that I couldn't do what I used to do, and have adapted around it. So when I was going through chemo and with the cancers, I lost the ability to hold a paintbrush. I had, with the mixed cryoglobulinemia, so too much protein in my blood, it caused so much inflammation that my hands started to turn into like arthritis, and I had all these lumps sticking out of them and couldn't bend my toes, and I had so much inflammation in my internal organs that I had decreased lung capacity and I was dying. And I was absolutely devastated that I couldn't go into my happy place of painting or drawing. And I kept getting inboxed and tagged in all these posts on social media from an artist called Iris Scott overseas. And she did finger painting with oils. And I didn't have any oils, and I thought, I've got acrylic paint. I wonder if I can finger paint. And I could, and I did, and I still do. And now I teach adult finger painting classes, which is fantastic fun. Like either corporate building or, one-on-one finger painting classes. And some of the artwork that I've, produced just from my fingers, with gloves on, obviously, has been absolutely amazing, even to me. It's like, wow, did I do that? And so that was adapting to what the climate was and what my body was doing at that particular time. Sometimes my vision's so bad I can't do fine artwork, and so I'll do big, bold abstract. So again, that's adapting and building resilience to it all. So, a lot of us are building resilience through our lives and don't even realise that that's what's happening. We're learning it all the time, but some people do need a helping hand.
Yep, it's true. And I do think that, through trauma, any sort of trauma, and everyone in their life has had some trauma in one shape, form or another. But through trauma, I think that, trauma helps to build resilience.
Yes, it sure does. It sure does.
You are so incredible because you've been through so much like medically, but personally as well, and, you know, on an emotional level. And yet you have this extraordinary positivity about you. Like, you honestly run circles around so many people. And
I get told I'm quite intimidating to some people. It's like, hang on for the ride kind of thing. Because in a way, it's easier. It requires far less energy to smile and be positive. Far less energy. And I haven't got that much energy to go around to be negative all the time. And I don't like that negativity around me. You are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around. So if you've got family or friends that are negative all the time, put your boundaries up. And, you know, at the moment, my thing is, you know, the whole COVID talk and everything. So it affects me, you know, emotionally, mentally. The stress of it all then affects the MS and it throws me out. So it's like, okay, well, what can I do? I'm going to stop watching the news. Now, some would say that's very ignorant of me, but no, I'm the self-care that I'm using with myself and to keep myself positive. I'm going to stop watching the news. I'm going to stop watching commercial TV. I'm going to listen to happy podcasts. I'm going to listen to happier, motivational, inspirational TED Talks. I'm going to control what I see on my social media feeds. I'm not going to unfriend people, but I'm going to unfollow them for a certain period of time. If they're not with my core values and every time I read their posts, it's upsetting me, why am I still reading their posts? I'm going to unfollow it. I'm going to unfollow any ads that come through that don't belong to my core beliefs. Okay, put them off there, put them over the side. And when you start taking control of yourself like that, all of a sudden you're not sitting in that negative state anymore. You're sitting in a more positive state of being. I'm going to eat good food, which is going to fuel my system. I'm going to feel better. I don't eat sugar. I'm allergic to caffeine. I have so many food intolerances. People are like, oh, what do you eat? I haven't had chocolate in 20 odd years. I haven't had a cup of coffee in 30 years. I haven't had a cup of tea. You know, all the vices that people survive on, I don't have. I've learned to adapt to not having those. Exercise, you know, the feel-good endorphins from exercise, you know, all of that leads to the positivity in your life. Set your goals, you know, work towards your goals. Whether they're micro goals, they're medium goals, they're long-term goals. And, you know, and I help other people do that. And then by helping other people as well makes it a positive environment for you. So, you know, it's all win-win there. Volunteer work, you know, volunteer when you can. To volunteer and help people in whatever area it is. I sit on the CAC, which is the Consumer Advisory Committee to the Board of Barwon Health, to help improve patient care. So everything that I've been through and all the stories, and it's ongoing care up there, if I can help one person have a better experience at that hospital, then it's worth it. So that all leads to the positivity in your life. And like attracts like. You know, you attract other positive people into your world. And some amazing people with some amazing stories like yourself, Sandy.
No, thank you. And that's my mantra in life, to be honest, is my grandmother used to say, like is likened to like. So, you know, that what you put out in the world will come back. And I think that's very true, you know, and I'm very grateful, as, you know, just like yourself, to be surrounded by some really incredible friends and family and, you know, to be close to my children. And those are the things that mean the world. But I think that, and thank you for sharing so many amazing and really tangible, easy ways that people can start to build some more positivity in their life. And, you know, I have good days, bad days, like everybody else going through this as well. And so I do have moments where I go, I'm just not going to watch the news this week. And that I'm, you know, I change up my podcast because I'm mad for a podcast. Obviously, I'm a podcaster. But, you know,
I'm starting podcasts at the end of the month as well. So
I'm so excited. That's great.
Justine, you might have to come on and be one of my guests, Sandy.
I would love to do that. I'd be absolutely honoured. I'd be thrilled, and I can't wait for your podcast to come out. And when it does, we'll make sure everybody knows. We'll share it around.
Thank you.
It's important. But yeah, so I think, thank you for sharing so much of your hard-won wisdom with us and in such beautiful, tangible ways. And, that people can now go away after listening to this podcast and say, oh, yeah, I could do that. Oh, I can try that. Yeah. And I think that's the joy that you bring to the world, Justine Martin, through your art, but also through your wisdom and through your incredible resilience. So I am so thankful that you joined us here today.
Thank you, Sandy, for having me.
Congratulations on all of your incredible nominations and being selected as a finalist. So deserving, and I think you're an extraordinary human.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is brought to you by WB40, Women Beyond 40 magazine. Available now at WB40.com. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to quality podcasts. We're also now available on YouTube. We chat with really interesting women about their hard-won wisdom, but it really helps us if you can subscribe, like, and share the podcast. Thanks so much for your support. Bye for now.